On the fourth day of aircraft, I made a VTOL. So this one was actually made in 1.11, unlike everything else that I've shown thus far, I think. Yeah, unlike everything else that I've shown this far. And it's a VTOL, as I started out by saying. It currently has less fuel in the fuel tanks than can actually be held by maximum. If I remember correctly, you can maintain the center of lift and center of lift. I believe you can maintain that association very well while completely filling it with fuel, as you see there. Yeah, and so you can fully fuel this and have a good flight. In fact, I can... Yeah, there we go. And so it can have a very long range, but of course that reduces your capability to do VTOL to not being capable. As you can see, that drops the thrust to weight ratio to 0.65, and I am already technically slightly cheating by the fact that, let me click on that so that I can get the target angle down to 0 for this first flight to show you it fully laden. Anyhow, as I was saying, I did have two Junos clipped into each side to give enough thrust for this craft to work as intended. It is a bit of a wide body, very smooth though, overall. I believe we can take off even at a relatively... Oops, that's not what I meant to do, but beware of tail strike. I don't entirely remember what I was going to say. I also don't remember if this has flaps. I don't think it does. It does not. It was supposed to have flaps, however there's a bug in 1.11.0 that destroys flap settings, destroys control surface settings. It does this when you import a craft from an older version, which, yes, I guess technically means I did make this before 1.11, however I am going to only release the 1.11 version, not the 1.10 version. As you can see, we do have flaps there. Oh wow, that's an interesting bug. They snap back to 0 when I undeploy them, rather than slightly, smoothly moving up as you'd expect. In any case, you can see it's still quite capable of a decent speed and decent maneuverability, even when fully laden with fuel. You can turn around pretty quickly. Of course, you do sacrifice some speed to turn this quickly, but that's okay. Let me double check that. Okay, good. The engine controls, the directional controls for the nozzles are working as intended. As I said, this is a VTOL. Of course, you have to have a lower fuel store to do that, so I'm not going to demonstrate that technique, that capability right this moment, but I will go up over the VAB and do a very stupid maneuver here. Yeah, this is a very stupid maneuver. I've lost control somewhat. And nailed it. I believe I've left the reaction wheels on for this particular craft. You can see there. I did leave them on because it is a VTOL and it needs the extra stability it can at low speeds. It needs that at low speeds, and why add another reaction wheel or RCS if you don't have to? Hey, look at that. Action Group 9 is supposed to toggle the flaps. Let me go ahead and fix that. And as you can see here, the VTOL axis is controlled via H and N, which is the forward and backwards relational controls. It's a VTOL trainer partially inspired by the Harrier. I decided to make it a trainer because it seemed like this would be a good trainer for VTOL operations because it's pretty easy to use. That said, I just realized I'm going to have to reopen it because this is the version that I changed the fuel load just now, but I want to present it with a minimum fuel load for VTOL operations, which means I'll need to go back and reset this. In any case, this time I can demonstrate VTOL capability properly. I'm going to go ahead and deploy those flaps. They're not going to do much right now while we're in VTOL mode, but as soon as we start getting into the air, we're going to start wanting to gain some forward momentum, and they will be useful at that point. I can also go here to show you the current thrust-to-weight ratio, so you can see exactly how well she's doing on that front. You see we're getting very close to it. She's lifting up off the landing gear a little bit, and now we are above it, so the ground will release us. And I decided for this particular demonstration, I'm just going to turn around and go this way. So you can see she's quite stable, quite easy to control. We are using electric charge, of course, when we... what's the word I'm looking for? We're using electric charge some when I maneuver because of the reaction wheel. However, it is not a large amount of... whatchamacallit? Losing my train of thought and words here a bit, but as you can see, we're in stable forward flight very quickly. She does maneuver quite well, of course. She maneuvers even better with a low fuel load than she does with a high fuel load. And of course, a higher thrust to weight ratio. What do you expect? Of course it's going to fly a bit better and it's going to be a bit more maneuverable. But yeah, she's really good for, like I said, VTOL operations. So like right now, for example, though, I'm going to go ahead and cut the engine, pull up hard, do a little spin over the top, pitch around like this. I'm maneuvering the engines and throttling them up to maximum as I put them into VTOL mode. And probably will need to throttle them down just a little bit. Let's go ahead and deploy the landing gear, deploy flaps. And I'm going to go ahead and throttle down the engine just slightly, because we need to come down more. Looking at our radar altitude, we're still flying quite a bit forward. So I'm holding down the control. They can pitch to a -5-degree angle from the horizontal, if I remember correctly. So that is what I've done just now. You can see our current thrust-to-weight ratio is actually below 1. Not quite sure why. Oh yeah, I did throttle down. I literally just mentioned that I throttled down and then forgot about it. So now you can see we are, oops, didn't mean to pitch forward that much. You can see we are now dropping just a little bit. And we're slowing down our descent just a little bit, so I'm throttling down just a little bit. In fact, I'm going to throttle down even more. There we go, now we're accelerating our fall just a little bit. And I'm going to want to control this vertical motion. I honestly don't know what I'm landing on right this moment because I didn't properly clear where I'm landing, but that's okay. At least it should be okay. There's a building rather close to us, but I think it's fine. So you can see I'm controlling our descent quite well. I'm going to go ahead and press and hold the brake just because I can't toggle it right now. And as you can see, should have cut the engines the moment I got to touchdown, because as you'd see, landing on an angle does have the possibility of knocking you sideways, which is obviously not great. But as you can see right here, the angle on the engine is exactly -5 degrees, which is helpful for landing it, because it can be a little hard otherwise. I also added a -5 degree to the horizontal so that if you're flying at a higher level, at a higher angle of attack, you can have some additional support in that form as well. I'm going to go ahead and engage full throttle here, and we're going to see how short of a takeoff run we can have with the engines at the maximum horizontal angle. And I tapped the control surfaces on the ground there just a little bit, but they are okay. And they have 0% damage, which means that they would have been okay in stock KSP as well, not just with Kerbal Crash Extension, Kerbal Crash System, I believe it's called. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in space. You can see a little bit more of an effective drop technique there. Ta-da!